What's up guys, Asian here again with a bit of an update on the Summerset Isles, kind of some new information that's come out in the recent days that I'd like to share with you guys in case you guys haven't been keeping up with the kind of the information that's coming out, slowly trickling out from Summerset Isles. So first, there was a news post released about 2 days ago now that gave us a little bit more information on the Summerset Isles expansion. There's not too much here in the beginning here, so new zone, new stories and quests. These are all pretty much stuff that we already knew. Under the Sigil Order stuff, there is a little bit more information here about how we're going to be able to level that skill, as well as whether it's going to be available to people who don't have the Summerset Isles DLC, or at least a little bit of a hint, I should say. We're not 100% sure what exactly it means through this wording. So here, in similar fashion to both the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild skill lines, as you increase your reputation within the order, you will unlock a suite of powerful time-based abilities. So this basically makes it sound like as you're doing the main quest, you'll gain experience, but we're not exactly sure where the rest of the experience is going to come from. So for those of you guys who have done the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild quest lines, you will know that while you do get experience for completing those quests, you won't be able to hit the max level doing just the quests. There are daily quests for Fighters Guild and Mages Guild that gives you experience as well, so we can probably expect something like that for the Sigil Order. But whether we have to go out and collect lore books, whether we have to go out and kill things or do something, we're not 100% sure what the primary source of gaining experience is going to be yet for the Sigil Order. Under here, they do include one new ability, not by name, but it says they have an ability that will empower yourself and your weapons. We're not 100% sure what this means. This could be something like Major Brutality, Major Sorcery. It could be a new buff that can stack on top of those, or it could be something just like Minor Berserk or Major Berserk. So we'll have to see what it means when it says empower yourself and your weapons. It could also be the Empower buff, which boosts the damage of your next attack by 20%. So we'll have to see what exactly that skill does. The other two skills that they mentioned are already ones that we already know. Slow and freeze enemies in place, we know that one existed, and the rewind time ultimate, that one we already knew. Now this line is kind of interesting. It says it will be available for all characters and classes, but doesn't specifically say whether you need to have the Summerset Isles expansion in order to have access to the skill line. The way that this is worded, it seems like everybody will be able to access it, but that's kind of counterintuitive because you probably need Summerset Isles in order to access Artaeum, which is the home island of the Sigil Order. So I'm not 100% sure what this means. I'm assuming that they're talking about available for all characters and classes as long as you have the Summerset Isles expansion, so we'll have to wait and see what that means later on down the line. Now we do have some more and new information about jewelry crafting. So this is kind of just a cursory look. Gina has says they're going to release a fully extensive article on jewelry crafting before the PTS goes live, so we're able to know a little bit more about it when that comes out. So first thing is, there are going to be jewelry crafting stations as we anticipated, including set stations, so you're able to craft jewelry in any of the crafted item sets, and then along with that we'll be able to complete writs and master writs like any other skill line. So this basically sounds like it's basically going to be just like any other skill crafting line. It says here you'll be able to create, decon, research, and improve rings and necklaces. So it does sound like you'll be able to improve your jewelry, so any sort of purple jewelry up to gold jewelry. So things like spell power cure or ebon, you'll be able to just improve those rings up to gold quality, probably using some sort of tempering alloy or something like that. And now, this is pretty important. Summerset chapter is required to use the new crafting stations, so it does seem like jewelry crafting is going to be locked behind the Summerset Isles expansion. So it just seems like anybody who doesn't have the expansion will not be able to use jewelry crafting itself. So there is a little bit more information on that given to us by Gina. So she says that Summerset is required to use any jewelry crafting station found in Tamriel. If we expect them to have attunable jewelry crafting stations through the Writ store, Master Writ Merchant, then we can probably expect that they'll also be locked as well. You won't be able to use them if you happen to get them. So that's what we're taking away from this statement. So she does say though, if you don't have Summerset, you'll be able to find the crafting nodes and get your crafting stuff from there, from the jewelry crafting stuff, and you'll also be able to purchase the crafted jewelry. So even if you don't have Summerset, you will still be able to buy, for example, a gold Juliano's necklace or something like that. So that's something. So don't feel like this is necessarily going to be pay to win, because you can still get those crafted jewelry sets. You will just need to purchase them off of guild traders or off of other players, or pay somebody to craft it for you. So she says, set jewelry will be bound and equipped, non-set will not be bound. That's pretty much what it's always been. And she also says that we will not be able to deconstruct any jewelry that we're currently holding onto prior to Summerset launch. So if you have been hoarding jewelry, just don't bother. You might as well just sell them, because as we can see here, we won't be able to decon it once Summerset Isle launches. I expect this is because of some sort of limitation in the coding that they're doing for the jewelry crafting skill line, and there's probably not an easy way around that. So just sell all of the jewelry that you have that you've been holding on to. And then there is another clarification here. So she did say we'll be able to upgrade, transmute, and research existing jewelry. We just won't be able to deconstruct it. So if you do have like a purple ebon ring that you're holding on to in order to upgrade, then by all means you can keep that ring, because you will be able to upgrade it. You just won't be able to deconstruct it for crafting experience. This also confirms that we'll be able to transmute existing jewelry. So this opens up a lot of build possibilities here, because there are a couple of sets. A good example would be something like a Drogue King Slayer or Rattlecage that are heavy armor sets or medium armor sets that would be better suited for different under a different armor weight. So in Homestead, I believe it was, there was a heavy attack Magicka DK build that made use of an Undaunted Infiltrator set, which is a medium armor set. So you only got the jewelry in Robust. The ability to transmute that jewelry now to something like Arcane instead, that might make that Mag DK build viable again, that heavy attack build viable again. So that's actually pretty exciting to be able to transmute jewelry, and I'm anticipating this is going to open up a lot of new builds that are going to be very effective in endgame content. And it's also going to be a challenge for the theory crafters to figure out what exactly now is going to be the most effective thing, the most effective setup, because now we are able to use a traditionally dropped heavy armor set, transmute that jewelry so it is better suited for stamina DPS or Magicka DPS, and vice versa. We might be able to take a light armor set like Lich, for example, transmute the jewelry to be healthy, and use that on a tank, for instance. So that this whole transmutation of existing jewelry is actually going to be really exciting, and I'm actually really looking forward to playing around with that. So there is a couple of other new information here. So they are adding 6 new traits to jewelry, so 9 traits in total, so you will have to research them. They haven't told us how we were going to be able to get these new traits. It's probably just going to be random drops, just like current research traits are. They did give us one of the new traits, which is Harmony, which increases the effectiveness of any synergies we activate. Now, increases the effectiveness, we're not sure what exactly that means. It could be something like increases the potency, so like Conduit hits for harder, you restore more resources when you pop an orb, something like that. It could be, add something else to it. It might be like whenever you activate a synergy, you also gain, 1,000 health or something like that. So we'll have to see the specifics with that. But just from the sounds of it, if it's something like increases the amount of resources you gain from like an orb or something, then Harmony might be a good option to have for a tank. Just so they can get more resources back when they get a shard or an orb. But it's probably not going to be very good for example DPS. Then the other new trait that Lambert has already mentioned on the announcement stream was Bloodthirsty, which increases damage against low health enemies. So we'll have to see exactly how much it increases damage by and what that health threshold is, whether that's going to offset the increased resources you get from Arcane or Robust for DPS on PvE content. For PvP content, I've seen a lot of people say that this is going to make Magsorks pretty useful in terms of kill stealing using Mage's Wrath. I don't know, I don't PvP that much, but I do know that a lot of my kills in Battlegrounds and even in Cyrodiil are stolen by Sorks running Mage's Wrath. So if you're a Mag Sork, you might want to consider getting Bloodthirsty. Now there is some new information about the new trial as well. It's called Cloudrest. So basically they've said that it's going to be similar to Asylum Sanctorium in that it allows us to choose how difficult we want the final boss to be by either taking on or skipping the other bosses. There will be 4 bosses in total here. So if you do the math, there's basically 8 different combinations. You can have the final boss by itself, the final boss and any of the 3 other bosses, so that's 4 total now. Then you can have the final boss and then boss 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, or 2 plus 3, so that's an additional 3 additional, so that's 7, and then you can have all 4 together, so that's 8 possible combinations of that final boss. On the other hand though, this is kind of a bummer for a lot of PvE players who were expecting something more similar to Maw of Lorcage or Halls of Fabrication with ads and interesting boss mechanics. They did say there are going to be some interesting mechanics on the bosses though, so looking forward to testing that out hopefully on the PTS. But the fact that this is going to be more along the lines of Asylum is kind of a bummer, because while I think Asylum was a very good addition to the game and added some interesting mechanics, it's still the hardest fight in the game hard mode. From what I've heard, basically there's been less than 20 guilds on PCNA that have cleared hard mode, and less than half a dozen, I think it's 5 or 6 guilds, have hard mode on farm, so basically they're able to complete it within a timely matter, like 20 and 25 minutes or something like that. So, you know, Asylum hard mode is pretty tough, and I like it, but at the same time I do wish that this new trial was more along the lines of Maw of Lorcage with ad pulls between each boss. We do have some new information about the rewards. It's going to be 4 new item sets, so we don't know, so probably going to be 1 heavy, 1 medium, 1 light, and then we're not sure what the 4th one's going to be. And then it also said that there's going to be an additional, new improved perfected version for those who take on the hardest version of the trial, so hard mode, all 4 bosses at once. I'm kind of on the fence on this, because like I said earlier, the Asylum, only 5 or 6 guilds on PCNA have it on farm. So those perfected Asylum weapons, while they're not entirely game changing, there are still builds out there that can do pretty well without Asylum weapons. You know, this basically limits how many people actually have perfected Asylum staves to only, you know, maybe like less than 100 people have perfected Asylum weapons across all of their tunes. You know, so that's kind of a bummer, and hopefully it'll be along the same lines as the Asylum weapons, where the imperfect versions are not that much worse than the perfected versions. So hopefully we'll see that, but this idea of perfected item sets, you know, that's a little bit hesitant to me, because this pretty much locks out a lot of players from getting, assuming these new sets become the new meta, of course, this locks out a lot of players on those new sets. Now, it could be that these sets are absolute garbage for PvE or PvP, and then we never see them getting used at all. So it could be that, you know, nobody wants the perfected versions because the sets themselves are so bad. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the details are like for the item sets when they pop up on the PTS. So just as a reminder, the PTS is likely going to be under NDA, so non-disclosure agreement. So if content creators are invited to the Summerset Isles PTS, chances are a lot of them are not going to be able to say what they're doing on the PTS, not going to say anything about the new trial, Jewelrycrafting, anything like that. Some content creators might get a pass to post content, depending on what Zos says is okay, so just be on the lookout for that. So if I do get on the PTS, I will let you guys know that I am on the PTS, but beyond that I won't be able to necessarily say anything else about what I'm doing on the PTS. And finally, they do have a little bit of miscellaneous stuff here. So with Summerset Isles, they're introducing daily login rewards, and Gina has confirmed on the forums that it is going to be cumulative, not consecutive. Actually, let me see if I can find that right now on the dev tracker. Is it this one? Yes, so the daily login rewards are cumulative, not consecutive, so you're not forced to log in every day to get something, but you get something every time you log in. So let's say you log in 2 consecutive days, so you get reward 1 and reward 2. If you log in 1 day and you take a week break and then you log in a week afterward, you still get reward 1, reward 2. So it's not like you have to log in every day or you miss out on an item. So these gifts include consumables, currencies, special collectibles, and crown crates, so that's kind of exciting. Helps reward players to keep on coming back. There's introducing gifting, so you'll be able to gift a lot of stuff from the Crown store once Summerset Isles launches. They said that almost every item can be gifted, but there are some conditions, so we'll have to see about that. This kind of worries me a little bit because this is kind of almost like real-world trading, which is an issue with MMOs. Basically, somebody might say, I want to buy, let's say, for example here, because it's right here, the Holiday and Balmora outfit for, let's say, 25k. So you're basically trading in-game gold for crowns, which can only be purchased with real-world money. So is that considered real-world trading? Who knows? Some MMOs have gotten around it that way. Gotten around this by the good example would be RuneScape with bonds. They managed to combat. They're trying to combat real-world trading using stuff that a bond that you can purchase with real-world money that can be sold for in-game money. So that might be what the route that ESO is taking. And then finally, you're getting daily Battlegrounds rewards. So they say it's going to be similar to how the daily dungeon rewards work. So you're going to get a coffer for your first Battleground match every day, so that's going to be pretty enticing. It's a good incentive for people to do Battlegrounds, get into PvP. We don't know what the coffers are going to give you. It's probably going to be Transmutation Crystal and then something like a purple Battleground PvP armor set piece or something like that. That's what I imagine that the daily reward is going to be. Alright, so that's it. That's all the new information that we have from Summerset Isles from the 28th through today, which is the 30th as I'm recording this video. So be on the lookout for additional information from Summerset as they slowly trickle down. I'll be making videos kind of going over those. As for the PTS itself, just based on the Morrowind PTS I believe lasted for 5 weeks. So the release date is May 21st, so if we go 5 weeks previous to that, that's basically the second week of April is when we anticipate the PTS launching. So expect something about the PTS on the second week of April, and hopefully that article on Jewelrycrafting will come out that week before, so the first week of April, so next week hopefully. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys found it informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.